Welcome to Manifesting the Miraculous. This is Aureliaslight. I'm happy to have you here. This episode, we are going to be talking about the healing power of music. The healing power of music, as written in The Mysticism of Sound and Music by Hazrat Inayat Khan. Healing through music is in reality the beginning of development through the art of music, the end of which is attaining that which, in the words of the Vedanta, is called Samadhi. In the first place, if we see what is at the back of all medicines that are used for healing purposes, and if we ask what it is in them that heals, we shall find that it is the different elements that constitute our physical existence. The same elements are present in these medicines, and that which is lacking in us is taken from them, or that effect should be produced in our body is produced by them. The vibration that is to be created in the body is created by their power, and that rhythm that is necessary for our cure is brought about by putting the circulation of the blood into a certain rhythm and speed. The intensity of vibration that may be necessary for our health is brought about by the medicines. From this, we learn that health is a perfect condition of rhythm and tone. And what is music? Music is rhythm and tone. When the health is out of order, it means that the music is out of order, that music in ourselves is not right. Therefore, in order to put ourselves into a state of harmony and rhythm, what is most necessary is the help of harmony and rhythm. This way of healing can be studied and understood by studying the music of our own life, by studying the rhythm of the pulse, the rhythm of the beating of the heart and of the head. Physicians who are sensitive to rhythm determine the condition of the patient by examining the rhythm of the pulse, the beating of the heart, the rhythm of the circulation of the blood. To find the real complaint, the physician with all of the knowledge must depend upon his intuition and the use of musical qualities. In ancient times, and even now in the East, we find two principal schools of medicine, one that comes from the ancient Greek school through Persia, and the other one that comes from the Vedic medicine and is founded on mysticism. What is mysticism? Mysticism is the law of vibration. It is the understanding of the nature of complaint by the rhythm and the tone that can be perceived in the human body. It is regulation through rhythm and tone, according to one's understanding of the proportions of the rhythm and tone that make for proper health. Besides this, there is another way of looking at this question. Every illness apparently has its peculiar reason, but in reality all illnesses come from one reason, and from one reason or cause or condition, that is the absence of life, the lack of life. Life is health, its absence is illness, which culminates in what we call death. Life in its physical form as perceived throughout the physical spheres is called prana in Sanskrit. This life is given by food or medicine, or the body is prepared by a certain food or medicine to be able to breathe in this life itself, in order that it may be in better health, that it may experience perfect health. But this prana, which means breath, the central breath, attracts from space all the different elements that are there, as the herbs and plants and flowers and fruits all attract from space the same element that they represent. All of these elements are attracted by the breath. Therefore, the great mystics, whether from Greece or Persia or India, always had the culture of breath, the science of breath, as their basis of spiritual evolution. And the source of all healing was the science of breath. Even now you will see in the East healers who magnetize water or food or the atmosphere. Where lies the secret of his magnetism? It is in their breath. It is in the influence of their breath that it is in the water or the food. The religious people of India have a ceremony where something like a sacrament is given by a holy person to someone who is suffering, and it helps them. It is the holy person's power of breath that is so balanced, so purified and developed that it attracts all the elements, all that one can get from herb and flower or fruit, and even more. Therefore, his breath can do 1,000 times more than what medicine can do. There are healers in the East who whisper some spiritual words. What is whispering? It is breath again. Breath with words directed through it. There was a physician in Delhi who mostly used his healing power with his patients. One day, a skeptical friend came to consult him. The physician whispered a few sacred words before the patient and said, "Now, you may go." The skeptical man said he could not understand how such a method could have any effect upon his health. The physician then did something quite unusual for him. He offended the man by speaking harshly to him. The man became very angry and said, "How can you, a physician, say such words to me?" The physician replied, "Usually I never do such a thing, and I only did it to prove something to you. If my words can make you angry and ill, they can also make someone well. If words can make someone ill and it's upset, they have the power behind them to harmonize the patient and to put him in good condition." Now, what is music? According to Sanskrit thinkers, there are 3 aspects of music: singing, playing, and dancing. All 3 represent music, and all 3 represent tone in some form or another. And what is the effect of music? The effect of music is to regularize the rhythm and to tune a person to the music that is being performed. What secret is there in music that attracts all those who listen to it? It is the rhythm that is created. It is the tone of that music that tunes the soul and raises it above the depression and despair of everyday life in this world. If one knew what rhythm is needed for a particular individual in his trouble and despair, what tone is needed, and to what tone that person's soul shall be raised, then one could heal a person with music. There was a time in India when music was used for healing. It was healing for the mind, for the character, and healing for the soul. For it is health of the soul that brings health to the physical body. But healing of the physical body does not always help the soul. That is why the material science of medicine can do good for some time, but does not entirely suffice the need of the patient. I do not mean by this that outward treatment is absolutely useless. There is nothing in this world that is useless, if we only knew how to make use of it. All things in this world are needed. All things have their benefits and use, if we only knew how to use them properly. But if a cure is brought about outwardly, while inwardly the illness remains, sooner or later, the illness that is buried in the body must come out and show itself. Once, I met a person who said she had been to many physicians for the complaint of neuritis. She was temporarily cured, but it always came back. She said, "Can you tell me something that will help me?" I asked her a question. "Is there a person in this world whom you dislike or whom you hate, or whose action is troubling your mind?" She said, "Yes, there are many people whom I dislike, and especially there is one person whom I cannot forgive." "Well," I said, "that is the neuritis. That is the root of the disease. Outwardly, it is a pain of the body. Inwardly, it is rooted in the heart. Often, the cause of an illness is within. Though no doubt many things are created outwardly, no single rule will cover everything. No doubt, as things have changed and materialism has spread throughout the world, this has influenced things not only in the West, but in the East too. The use of music for spiritual attainment and healing of the soul, which was so prevalent in ancient times, is not found at some extent now. Music has been made a pastime, the means of forgetting God instead of realizing God. It is the use one makes of things that constitutes their fault or their virtue. Still, the remembrance of the ancient use of music remains among the poor in India, where there are healers who have their particular instrument of healing on which they play, and the people go to them for healing. By playing this instrument, they arouse that certain feeling in the patient that has become cold, and that deep feeling that was buried begins to come out. It is really the old way of psychoanalysis. Music helps the patient to express in full the hidden influence that was there. And in this way, many people are healed and helped without ever having to go to a physician. But this is no doubt a crude and ordinary form of healing. The Maharaja of Baroda, knowing that healing could be accomplished through music, introduced concerts in certain hospitals. The amazing result was that all of those who were suffering began to cry out, "For God's sakes, keep quiet, go away." That was not the music to soothe them. It only made them suffer more. It was like giving a stone for bread. In order to give healing through music, one must study what is needed, what is wanted. In the first place, one must study what the complaint is, what the elements are lacking, what is the symbolic meaning, what mental attitude is behind the illness. Then, by a close study, one can do great good to the patient with the help of music. Even if music were not used as a prescription particularly intended for a certain illness, still the power of illness, which has its abode in the heart of man, can be reduced by lifting up his heart, by changing his thought. What brings illness is the thought of illness rather than the illness itself. The existence of illness in the body may no doubt be called a shadow of the true illness that is held by man in his mind. By the power of music, the mind may become so exalted that it rises above the thought of illness, and then illness is forgotten. You may ask, what kind of music can heal man? Is it singing or playing, or something in the way of dance? Singing is the most powerful, for singing is living. It is prana, it is life itself, it is voice. No doubt it also is life that is working through the instrument by the touch, but in singing it is direct life. The breath touching the heart of the listener. But what must be behind this voice? There must be a heart prepared with the help of the battery that it needs. What is that battery? That battery is what we call love and sympathy, the greatest power there is. A person who is material, who is struggling for himself from morning to evening, who is looking for his own benefit, who is in trouble and bitter, who is in the midst of fighting and is fighting himself, cannot heal. The healer must be free to sympathize, empathize, and have compassion, free to flow his love into his fellow man even more than himself. What teaches this love? Where can one learn it? Where can one get it? The key to this love element is God. As we look upon life today with all of its progress, what is it lacking? It is lacking God. God is the key to the ultimate store of love that is in the heart of man. Once I was very amused and surprised at an answer that a very godly and good-natured maid gave me. Working in this house, she could not answer a knock at the door as quickly as it should have been answered, and the lady visitor who was waiting at the door became very impatient and spoke crossly to the maid. When I asked her what had happened, she was not cross at all. She smiled and said, "Yes, oh yes, that lady was very cross with me." I asked, well, what was the matter with her? What made her cross? What was the reason? And this maid, with an innocence in her face, replied, "The reason? There was no God." Beautiful answer. Where God is lacking, there is no love. Where there is love, there is always God. Wherever there is God, there is love. If we interpret it rightly, what causes pain and suffering? It is the lack of life. What is life? It is love. And what is love? It is God. What every individual wants, what the world wants, is God. All we have to attain by music, by harmony, by tone, by the science of right tuning, by a life of goodness, all we have to attain to bless our lives is God. This is the central theme of all good. This is the end of the chapter, The Healing Power of Music. But before we conclude, I want to read to you some incredible, beautiful quotes and saying of Hazrat Inayat Khan. So just take these quotes in, and at the end, I'm going to give a few minutes of just quiet music so that you can integrate these beautiful words, these vibrations, and the healing frequency that comes through. Love produces harmony, and harmony creates beauty. Therefore, the chief motto in life is love, harmony, and beauty. Love in all things and beings the beloved God, in harmony with all in the right understanding, and beautify your life by observing the beauty within and without. By love, harmony, and beauty, you must turn the whole of life into a single vision of divine glory. Life is a symphony, and the action of every person in this life is the playing of his particular part in the music. The best moral is to learn from all that sounds inharmonious to us, that we may not use it for another, and to use that which sounds harmonious to us for others. Thus should the ears be trained. The further we advance, the more difficult and the more important becomes our part in the symphony of life, and the more conscious we are of this responsibility, the more efficient we become in accomplishing our task. Once a soul has awakened to the continual music of life, that soul considers it as his responsibility, his duty to play his part in the outer life, even if it be contrary to his inner condition at the moment. The secret of seeking the will of God lies in cultivating the faculty of sensing harmony, for harmony is beauty and beauty is harmony. The lover of beauty in his further progress becomes the seeker of harmony, and by trying always to maintain harmony, he will be in tune with his heart and his heart to the will of God. There is nothing in this world that does not speak. Everything and every being is continually calling out its nature, its character, its secret. The more the inner sense is open, the more capable it becomes of hearing the voices of all things. If the soul were awakened to feel what the birds feel when singing in the forest at dawn, man would know that their prayer is even more exalting than his own, for it is more natural. There is nothing in this world that is not the instrument of God. There is nothing in this world that is not the instrument of God. So right now I'll give you a minute or two to integrate these powerful and profound passages. These quotes are just so resonant with what it means to be alive, and fully dancing in our soul's essence as the musical creation of God. This concludes the healing power of music in this episode of Manifesting the Miraculous. I so thank you for being here and joining in, and your ability to listen and receive at this time during humanity's awakening. I send you so much love and light wherever you go. And remember, you are so loved by the divine. If you knew who you truly were, you would be in awe. If you feel moved to subscribe to my channel, please press the bell icon and the notifications so that you won't miss another episode. And give a like or comment below, and I will see you next time.